Hello, everyone. My name is Danielle Mitchell. I'm the CEO and founder of Black Women in Clinical Research. Thank you so much for joining us today for BWICR and ICON Lunch and Learn. And I just want to welcome everyone, and I will turn this over to ICON. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. And we'll let Becky kind of kick things off for us today.
Okay, thanks, Jenny. Hopefully everybody can see the screen. Going to move forward. So this is just a agenda for what we hope to go over with everybody today. We'll tell you a little bit about ICON as a company, some benefits of working here. You'll get to hear some great success stories, and then we'll share about some career opportunities that you can explore. So one thing we like to share is just what the difference is in a contract research organization or CRO as opposed to the pharma companies. So we actually are contracted by pharma, biotech, and medical device companies. We're not actually on the manufacturing end or on the development end of the product itself, but we're involved in the clinical trials, primarily phase 1 through 4 of the in-human trials. So, but anything that you can imagine in there, from planning, medical affairs, regulatory consulting, data management, anything that you can think of, we're pretty much involved in. There's a lot that goes into clinical research, but most of what we do is involved within the drug development process. So for anybody that's not familiar, this is just to kind of give you a high-level overview of the different phases. And just to put it in perspective, I like to share this slide. It can take anywhere from 8 to 15 years and upwards of $2 billion to get a drug to market. So that's where CROs come into play with the pharma companies to really help them streamline processes, provide resources for them so that they can get the process done more efficiently. So who is ICON? We're a global healthcare intelligence partner. We've been consistently ranked among the top CROs and best employers worldwide. We hope that all the work we're doing is helping to develop life-saving and life-improving drugs. And as you can see, there's a variety of services listed there that are part of what we offer. The next slide here is just to give you all an idea of our global footprint and where we operate. We're about 40,000 employees across the world. There's not very many areas that we don't touch. This is just where we have imaging centers, offices, or clinics, but we have employees in, I want to say, over 70 countries, different things there. And just to give you all an idea of the variety of therapeutic areas that we work on drug development within. A lot of people, when they think about research, they think about what you hear about a lot: cancer research, heart disease, things like that. But we do everything in that, as well as, rare and orphan diseases, vaccine, infectious disease. We touch all of it. This is just a sampling of some of the accomplishments from the last several years that the organization has received. Some of these are related to our employment and what it's like working here, and some are related to the Vaccine Congress, obviously SCRIP Awards, things like that. And then obviously one of the main reasons we're here is to share about, the opportunities for diversity in the workforce. And so this is just an example of some of the community groups that we have within ICON. So we have our Embrace group, our Pride group, our NOW, which is Networking Organization for Women. Dawn is a disability awareness network. And then one that I was very pleased and surprised to see, because you don't see it everywhere, is SPACE, that supporting parents and carers. So lots of resources for a lot of different diversities, backgrounds, to bring everybody together. And I won't read all of this to you all, but this is just kind of an overview of why we love working here. We know that even if we're not as talent acquisition members on the front lines of the research, we're making an impact in helping to build teams that are really doing meaningful work every day. We have great comprehensive and competitive compensation and rewards. The work-life balance is not just something that we say, it's something that we have, which is wonderful. And even though we are 40,000 employees strong, you do not feel lost in a sea of employees. You feel like you're a member of a team. So really great place to work. And I didn't preface this at the beginning, but we will hold all questions until the end. So as we're going through, if you have those, you're welcome to type them into the chat, and we will read them in the order that they come in to get through as many as we can at the end, or we can open it up for you to ask questions towards the end. But we just want to make sure we have the opportunity to share all the information with you. So I am going to go ahead at this point and turn it over to Tony.
So my name is Antoinette Green, and or you can call me Tony. I am in the role of a site engagement liaison here at ICON, and that is under the umbrella of patient recruitment. My role is to help with recruitment and retention at the sites, and to help mitigate any issues along the way that sites are having, and to also advocate for our sites with the sponsors. We have a very diverse team, and I am super happy and excited to be among some really good people on my team. And I think we're doing really, really good things to help in the space of recruitment and retention. So we can move on to the next slide. So a little bit of background about myself. So I initially started my matriculation in school to be a pharmacist. I thought that I was going to be a pharmacist, and I started at Hampton University in Virginia, and was actually devastated when very many years into my time at school that things didn't turn out how I wanted them to. And so I had to take a detour through school. And so I did my prerequisites and a couple years actually of the PharmD curriculum. And so I came back home to Cincinnati and completed my undergraduate degree in biology. And I worked for P&G as a molecular biologist for several years. And during that time, actually in undergrad, I'll be a little personal, I was diagnosed with endometriosis. And during my time when I was working as a molecular biologist, I actually was a contractor. And this was before the Affordable Health Care Act. And I had healthcare insurance, but I was, I would say didn't have comprehensive healthcare. And so I needed to have treatment for my endometriosis, and I could not afford the very expensive shots. So at the time, my physician told me about a clinical trial and where I would be able to receive the active drug. And one of the shots that I needed actually cost over $700, and I needed 6 of them. And I was a participant in a clinical trial, and I actually received active drug. And that really made me very interested in starting a career in clinical trials. So I started to apply for many roles as study coordinators, but because I didn't, like many of you who may be starting out, didn't actually have experience in clinical research, it was very difficult to get into the field. And so I actually went to a career fair, and one of the gentlemen was there. He took a look at my CV, and he actually suggested that I enroll in a graduate certificate program at the University of Cincinnati in clinical research. And he felt that I had some really good soft skills. Of course, I had my undergraduate degree in biology, but he thought that I could really benefit from the graduate certificate program, and encouraged me to do so. And when I enrolled, to go ahead and continue to apply for other study coordinator roles. And that's exactly what I did. While I was in that program, I actually met my mentor. So that was about 10 years ago. And so after I got the graduate certificate and got some experience in that space, I was able to become a study coordinator. And I advanced from a level 2 study coordinator 3 and 4 when I left. So I was at the site level for over almost 8 years. And just last year, I completed my master's of organizational leadership. And I'm also a SOCA certified professional as clinical research professional. So this just goes just to my matriculation through school. And I wanted to share that because like many people who come into the industry of clinical research, my time has not been linear and my journey has not been linear. And so I wanted to share that to encourage people who are on the call that there are roles available for people who are, starting out and also wanting to evolve and advance their career. You can go ahead and, okay. And then I would be remiss to not speak about my faith. I put this quote here from Dr. MLK, faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase. And so just like I said, my time in the clinical research field in science has not been linear, has not always been what I expected it to be, but I'm very happy to be in my role that I am here now. But things that I have consistently done is I have been a mentor and someone who has had a really good sounding board around myself and listen to my mentors. I have 2 really good mentors. One actually has been in clinical research for over 17 years, and the other one is a physician. But I'm also very involved in our local BWICR Cincinnati chapter. And so the ladies up at the top are all members of our local group and also community service. So here are some of the little kids that I serve with for the adopted class. A lot of the kids that are in that class, they are actually displaced, meaning that they don't have a permanent residence. And I think that making yourself available to the community, also plugging in with mentorship and also being involved in BWICR has really helped definitely my career and my career path. And so, yeah, I just wanted to encourage people that are here on the call looking either to, like I said, to enter into the field or to advance their roles.
Okay.
All right, Tania.
Yeah, that looks like me, but just a little bit. I wasn't quite prepared for our call today, but I'm Tania Gray, and I'm a senior director in project delivery at ICON. I've been here through Legacy PRA for just over 17 years, and been in industry for just over 24. And it was really important for me to be here today because this is the first time that we have had, I think, specific and direct outreach specifically to Black women, which I think is very important. I think it's fantastic when we are able to identify underrepresented groups and then target them specifically for inclusion. I guess we can probably go to the next slide. A little bit about what I do as a senior director of project delivery is I am ultimately responsible for delivering to the client what we say we're going to do. And my primary clients would be our biotech, small to mid-sized biotechs. So 10 years ago, that would have been, and I worked with the likes of companies the size of Genentech's and Gilead's. Now they're larger biotechs, and even in some cases, I would imagine small pharma. But I tend to work with the companies that have really exciting molecules that they are either testing in early phase studies, phase 1, 2 products, or just getting to the phase 3 point, and they are either looking to become the next big company or potentially be sold to another one. And so my clients, as you might imagine, are very focused on finding partners who are going to be fully invested, who are going to have energy, who are going to feel ownership over their pipeline, which is usually limited to 2 to 3 assets. All of their eggs are in those baskets, and so working with us becomes very important. And so, as a director of delivery, it's my job to assemble a team, and B, ensure that the team has what they need to be successful. So I really do serve in my role both our clients, our potential clients, as well as our current teams. It's my job to make sure that our team is functioning in a healthy way, that our team has the tools and access and support necessary to actually be able to do and deliver on these projects. So that includes everything from full service projects where we're providing, selecting sites, working, doing the monitoring, managing the data, to very specific relationships that might only include safety services, or in some cases medical monitoring, for example. It's really going to vary, and it depends, which is why so much of my job is more of an art than a science. It really is sitting back and thinking and making sure that we've got a bespoke, right fitting solution for whatever the task is at hand. And that includes, do we have the right people? Have we thought of the right plan? Do we need to redo that plan? Is this something that has been escalated? Do we have the right level of backing and support? But one of the favorite parts of my job is really being able to identify and um, support high performing team members. It's a joy often and a goal of ours to be able to spot talent. And when I say talent, oftentimes those are high effort people. Performance in our industry is never, ever, ever going to be perfect. There are always going to be challenges. I've never been on a project that is run without issue. But where we have high effort, committed people, we usually see success. And I certainly like to cultivate that energy wherever I see it, and use my position to do so. So one of my favorite parts of the job is succession planning. Right now, I have, for example, one of my clients, we have 3 protocols. We've grown that client in the last year and a half. And one of my project directors on that portfolio is now moving in to take my position. So they're taking over as DPD. I'm moving on to some new business. And as they're taking over as DPD, one of our regional PMs is now moving into a global PM position. To me, that's one of the best parts of working at Icon. I'm also many other things. I'm a mother and a daughter. And for this audience, I want to share all those things, because one of the reasons I've been at this organization for over 17 years is because this company truly does give me the work-life balance to manage that. For example, today I have middle school football and high school wrestling, and then need to get one of my other kids to his after-school job. All of that, it requires me to manage my schedule very carefully. And I can tell you that I've never had an experience where I haven't been able to do so successfully. Our main concern, as I noted earlier, is, do we have committed people who are giving effort, who are delivering on time and with quality, right? That's what we're here to do. Ultimately, our goal includes being here to bring life-saving medicines to market. my start a long time ago, and one of my passions has always been equity. To make a long story short, what a little bit of what this slide tells you is that I've been active in the community almost all of my life. It is a passion of mine. It started in high school, beginning a Black student union where one didn't exist, which is probably why it's not a surprise that at our legacy organization, I actually started the Women of Color and Research group and founded our very first mentoring program specifically for women of color here at the job. It has been an absolute joy to see all of the movement, not only in our industry, but specifically within our company, and the support that our company has shown towards actual inclusive uh, programs, and to have stated goals that we're working toward equity in these areas. It's been a joy. I also am fortunate enough, outside of my project work, I also get to lead operationally our program called our Patient Ambition, which you see up here, which is essentially ICON's answer to what are we doing to increase diversity in clinical trials. And I lead a cross-functional team of experts who are all fantastic, everyone from our medics to our data management teams to clinical, are all coming together, our site relationships, our community partnerships, to answer that question and push, in many cases, our clients to make sure that this is something that we're thinking about and building into our operational strategies every day. So that really is what gets me out of bed every morning. Outside of working primarily in oncology, which is sometimes a really daunting task, um, knowing, for example, that through this ambition, we have right now almost 24 programs with stated diversity goals, the majority of them targeting people of color in the US, and that I get to work with those teams and provide them with tools and access and best practices and tap into the expertise of people like Tony, who you just heard from, who's also a part of this ambition, to really bring this to life and to have the right people in the right places to move that needle is super exciting for me. And that's why where my energy comes from every day outside of coffee. So let's see. There have been other opportunities here too that I think is important, and I can talk about my career. You can go to the next slide. It's fine. But I do want to say that in the space of DE&I also, I like that ICON is giving those of us who feel passions for certain areas of our lives an opportunity to not only either be a part of it operationally, but also be allies to other groups. I'm an ally to our Pride community. I am working in the background to support our Embrace community now, since I'm focused really on the patient ambition. But I really like our space community too, and have been connecting people where I can to those. And to me, that's what all of this is about. It's reaching across and pulling in and being aboard and really creating a network in some cases where it has been hard to build one for many of us historically. For example, I happen to have worked with one of Tony's mentors who texted me a few weeks ago and just said, "Hey, I hear that you're working with someone very close to me." So for the first time in my career, I'm truly seeing a network, in large part, thankfully, to the work that Danielle and a few others are doing. Um, Again, it very much so gives me life because I've been doing this a long time, and I can tell you a lot of this did not exist before. So I started, to quote Drake, from the bottom, now I'm here. So I literally started at Rutgers University. I'm from New Jersey. That's our state school. And I signed up for an externship I was a biology major, but I also have a degree in African American Studies by accident, because I had so many of the classes that they gave me the degree literally. I think I just had to take the language. Um, but started with an externship and happened to be paired with a Black woman who was doing women's health research, which I was obviously familiar with as a woman. So that was exciting. But I wasn't sure at the time. I had been part of the, those of you familiar with Rutgers, there was an Access Med program where, are you in the house? Where we had an opportunity to partner with Robert Wood Johnson Medical School. And so I was part of that program. So I'm a medical school dropout, decided that I did not want to go for another, decade of work, and look to research as another place where I could kind of take the biology that I had learned and had a passion for, and kind of pair it with my love of people and community. And so I started in my very first job. I was a data coordinator, contractor as well, with no health insurance for Merck. I remember those days very clearly. I continue to be very active in the community. You can see there, that's an actual Kwanzaa photo from probably 1999. So that's how long that, making sure that we had space and commitments and sort of a path for our own identities has really been important to me. But that being said, I was fortunate enough to find a program through Kendall that required us to pay for our own training. It was a month-long training program, but afterward, we were able to become CRAs. And so that's where my career, I think, probably took off. And with that travel, I decided I no longer wanted to live in New Jersey. So I moved to North Carolina, where I'm just outside of Raleigh now. So I saw a few of us are there as well, because it was still driving distance, still on the same coast, but really was starting to become a research hub back in 2002. And I felt like it would be a prime place to continue my career. And turns out it has been. Ironically, I also started with PRA in 2005, but they didn't have an office in the Raleigh, North Carolina uh, region. So I was aligned with the Charlottesville office for some time, and then eventually we developed an office here, and the rest is sort of history for where that went. I stayed in clinical for a really long time because it was my safe space. It was what I knew really well. And not until I started to have mentors did I even think about moving into project management
We were just
to
getting started.
to kind of continue on a career path. I was very comfortable. And I'll be direct and say it took having mentors to really shake me out of that and to kind of, encourage me to try new things, throw my hat in the ring and kind of see where it led me. And as you can see, I've remained in project management and been successful at it to the point where now, like as I said, my day job includes really supporting multiple teams across multiple clients and making sure people are connected to tools and knowledge basis so that they can be successful. And so, there's pictures of my family. And then finally, that last picture there is a 51-mile Selma relay that I did and was fortunate enough to take a little bit of time off to do. But these are the type of activities that I would say really bring diversity to the table in the room. A couple weeks ago, this organization dedicated an entire day to talking to a global audience about what our culture means. We called it Wake Up to Culture. And our values are collaboration, inclusion, um, these items that I say, diversity is a nice word, and I think we all can appreciate that. But until it becomes part of our fundamental culture, until we're actually living in what does that mean, what are you doing to actively make sure people feel included, that we are able to collaborate, that people feel like this is a space that they own and not only are welcome in, but thrive in. To me, it's it becomes a challenge for people to feel connected to that. And I would say this is probably the most connected I've ever felt to a company, and my quarter century career journey at this point. And so now I think is a wonderful time to look at Icon, to be a part of our industry, to move the needle in directions where we are making sure that people who will eventually need drugs are being included in research, that where we have stated goals, where we're looking to ensure that we have equity at the senior leadership level, by gender, and hopefully adding a few more pieces of equity to our stated goals in the next few years, and really being a part of the movement to drive that forward. So I don't know if I had another slide. I don't remember. I think this is it, but I'll just pause there.
I think that was it for you, Tania.
Thanks.
All right, everybody. So we're going to move into the career overview. We do have several slides to cover. So again, we're going to hold all questions till the end. The first two roles that I'm going to talk about for you are project associate and site management associate. These are kind of entry level if you don't have any industry experience. They're a great place to start building that, or if there's not a role open that maybe isn't open as frequently, you could start and build that industry experience in these roles and then apply to those later on down the road. So the first is the project associate. This is an administrative role that helps to develop and maintain study documents, provide admin support. You can see in that blue box, there's a kind of a summary of how they focus the program. You complete a 90-day onboarding progression plan where you do all of your new hire training, things like that. And then during your first, 12 to 18 months, your leaders are talking with you about where you see your next steps and helping you prepare. There's a list of examples of potential career pathways. Obviously, this is not all inclusive, or the possibilities are limitless with an organization this size. But that's just an example. We see a lot of folks go from this to in-house CRA programs, or kind of laterally over to the SMA role, which I'm going to talk about in a second, to do more clinical versus operational administrative roles, things like that. And so the site management associate, it's a very similar administrative role. It is a primary point of contact or liaison for the sites and the sponsor, but this is more on the clinical focus. So overseeing a lot of those tasks. In the entry level role, it's not required that you would have any type of life or health sciences background to come in as a tier 1, but to progress up in the site management tiers, and then to go into clinical roles, you typically would need to have either a degree background or significant experience in a life or health sciences, whether that's studying biology, working as a nurse, something like that. So as you want to progress into that, you are going to need to have that experience. But this role sets you up, obviously, for training, CRA training in a variety of areas. They have an in-house CRA position. You can go into clinical monitoring. There's a variety of opportunities here. All right, next up, I believe we have Tom.
That's correct. Thank you. The project management team here with our biotech group is one of our very important teams, and they're really the middle of the wheel for everyone that spoke. They oversee the whole project or portfolio of projects, anywhere between 1 to 4 projects that they could be assigned from either a regional side or a global perspective. The project manager's primary liaison is to the client or sponsor. They work with the project team to ensure all questions are answered, issues are resolved, and they have the primary responsibility of managing all the project deliverables, whether that is going to be on time or maybe a little bit late in some cases, to ensure the budget is met, and working with the financial team to ensure that that's all correct, and they're responsible for all of that. a lot of what they do on a day-to-day basis is going to be managing the teams that they're working with, the third-party vendors, the financial responsibilities. They are going to be managing the project costs, the financial risks to the company. They're going to be making sure all resources are in line with the budget and the deliverables. And then they're going to ensure adherence to the company's SOPs, their policies, and their guidelines at that project level. And we can flip on to the next slide there. Our must-haves in our project management department, we're going to have 3+ years of clinical research experience with at least 1 year of study management experience in a CRO setting. They do look for a bachelor's degree or required transferable experience in liaison with that one. Full scope project management experience is the most important and critical piece for them to have. They're looking at the oversight of the entire study, costs, timelines, the quality of the study, full spectrum project financials, working internally with cross-functional team, including the vendor relationships, the sponsor relationships, making sure that the team is aligned across the board. Therapeutically, we always are looking for more oncology folks, as many as we can find, but infectious disease, vaccines, CNS, rare disease, immunology, neuro, cardiology, you name it, general med, as one may call it. Love to have a lot of those individuals. Travel wise, currently we're looking around 10%, mostly for kickoff meetings or bid defense work, which is a nice to have piece if somebody does have that experience of having attended bid defense or having helped prep for that. That's always another piece that's very nice to have. And of course, the global experience, we're always on the lookout for. We have different levels within our project management group. Most you'll see is a project manager 1 is the initial one, 1 year of CRO PM experience over a clinical study. Then you move into a PM2 or senior project manager, which is going to be 2+ years of CRO PM experience with global experience highly preferred. And then you move into what is known as a project director position, which is typically 4+ years of global CRO PM experience on a clinical study. When coming into ICON as a project manager, there are a couple different things that we do to kind of help support those individuals. First, they get 2 weeks of training onboarding with our onboarding manager, and then the support of a mentor-mentee relationship throughout the life cycle here at ICON. One of the big things I think is extremely helpful for our project management staff is a dedicated functional manager that's outside of the project that they're working on. So that individual is fully dedicated to them and their career path here with ICON. So it's more about what they need to succeed versus what the project needs to succeed with the functional managers. We also offer DPD office hours, so that way they can have those conversations and continue to learn and grow. We have the Strides program, which is a leadership project management training program that's available here as well. And then our DPD pathways to continue the development of our project directors to our directors of project delivery. We have a lot of promos that have taken place through our DPD pathways versus our external DPDs hires. You can see that's almost a 50-50 split for us, which is great. Internal promotion, internal hiring is a very big point that ICON tries to structure in. Different opportunities and pathways that we have. The APM position or associate project manager position is one that a lot of people get their start in coming up from the site management piece, and then they move into a project lead or PM1 role. A project lead role is the same as a PM1. It's just a internal team that falls within our biotech group that manages a lot of early phase oncology trials. From there, they move into the senior PM position, and then from senior PM into the project director into DPD, into executive DPD after that. There's a lot of support through the APMs, and then the vendor project managers with help managing those vendors on our large global projects, our project analysts, and then the Boost program as well. Typically, most people are going to be assigned 1 to 3 protocols at a time. Typically not therapeutically aligned. I will say that the oncology folks probably are the ones that mostly get therapeutically aligned, which isn't a shock to most people at that point. And as you've heard, work-life balance and flexibility are a very big part of what we do here. Another testament to that is myself. You know, I have 2 little ones that go to daycare every day and get picked up. So my wife and I kind of split that duties. I do a lot of the morning work with our kids and dropping them off at daycare, and then popping into meetings on Teams during that time, or right afterwards jumping into my day. So both of our project management positions, APMs and senior project managers and PDs, all of these roles are fully remote throughout the United States and Canada.
Thanks, Tom. We have Allison up next to talk about CRA roles.
Great, thank you. So the CRA role, if you are really interested in clinical research and you love to travel, this is potentially a really great area for you to look into. Our CRAs do a lot of traveling. They are their metrics are right about 8 to 10 days on site a month. They do try to keep you within your time zone. But I guess to tell you a little bit about what a CRA is, you know, they act as a liaison between the study sponsor and a site. They are, in the components of their role, they are reviewing the investigator site files, they're verifying investigational product accountability, they're performing source data verification. When they're not on site, they're writing trip reports, they're doing follow-up letters, visit confirmation letters, communicating with the sites and staying in contact, and of course answering their questions. And of course there's going to be some ad hoc tasks too. But this role really does have you traveling quite a bit. So we always really like to preface that by saying, I hope you like to fly, because that is how we get around. So make sure that you're comfortable with that. But a lot of these individuals who come into the CRA role are moving over from internally from our SMA role that Becky was speaking to earlier, or they're coming to us and joining our Bridge program. Our Bridge CRA program is typically the background for those individuals are coming out of, maybe they were a research nurse, or they've been a study coordinator on site at one of our bigger sites. We are currently, just as Tom had mentioned, we are very big in the oncology side of things. So we're certainly always looking for people who have some kind of oncology background to join into that program. The CRAs who are more of our level 2s and 3s are going to have 1+ year of monitoring experience, meaning that they've gone through their training, and after they've been trained and they've been signed off on to do all of their visit types, that's when the time starts ticking for your actual on-site monitoring experience. So it's roughly 12 months is a year, you're talking about 15 months in to that experience, being able to say, yes, I've been on site monitoring for a year. Level 3 is going to need at least 3 years of on-site monitoring experience to be eligible for that level. And then you don't have to necessarily have your degree. We just need to have some equivalent experience that kind of equates to kind of where that degree would have had you. And of course, like I'd mentioned, that ability to travel. And then of course, you need to have some knowledge of the IHC and local regulatory authorities regarding drug trials. Day to day, like I'd mentioned, there's going to be a minimal number of protocols and sponsors. We do try to keep that rather low, because you will be required to go on site for each protocol that you have, and there's going to be many of those days in a month. Technology, you'd be working through the CTMS and the eTMF. They like to say they are very user-friendly. I am sure that they are. I am not a technological guru, so unfortunately I would probably struggle, but I think those of you who are in the field probably are able to get up to speed on it. There are some things that you will get, like an Icon corporate card, that's to help the expenses. And then there is also a CRA days on site bonus plan that is in place. So it does start at a certain amount of days on site. And after that, I believe it's once you reach the 9th day, there's a bonus assigned to that. So if you're on site, upwards of, 12, 13 days, for each day over 9, you would be entitled to some additional compensation for that, just for your time. Yep. Okay, perfect. So career growth. So this is what's fun. This past year, 2021 promotions, that SMA role that Becky was talking about, we did have 37 promotions through our Bridge program into the CRA role. And then from our CRA role, you could potentially grow into a CTM role. We've also seen people decide to go the project management route. and I know Becky will get to the CTM conversation here in a minute, but then from the CTM role, we did see a lot of people go into that manager of ClinOps, meaning that you are the functional manager that Tom was speaking to, where you're not dedicated to the project, you're dedicated to the employee. From a career growth perspective as well, there are definitely internal opportunities where you can continue to grow. Oncology University is a big one. We have a lot of individuals who come in on the CRA route, and they are more of that general med space. So maybe they're in rare disease, vaccines, and they really have the interest of joining oncology. So we do have that program set up so that you could make that transition to start monitoring within that space. And then, of course, you can move within other roles, right? It does not have to be that you're going straight SMA to CRA to CTM. You can move into some of the other areas as well. There are also opportunities to mentor and participate in company initiatives. So we have some of our more senior CRAs are actually helping our more junior CRAs get signed off on at sites so that they can start monitoring on their own. So that's also something that that we really like, just being able to give everybody that opportunity to continue to find that growth that they're looking for, because you really drive your position here. Yes, thank you. MCO is for Manager of Clinical Operations. Yep. So that's going to be your functional managers in that case. So the dedicated line manager for you. Yep, you're welcome. Other than that, I think the people who get into the CRA role, they do tend to stay in it for quite a while. I think it just provides an opportunity, like I mentioned, to travel, see different things, and really get to understand kind of the site side of everything, because you're on site so often and getting to interact with the individuals there, including the PIs, et cetera. And then, really being able to get you the opportunity to continue to navigate your career in the direction that you're looking for, which is where our MCOs are very helpful. They do spend that time with you to make sure that you are growing your career in your direction. And they're very, very helpful. I've certainly seen that here. I'm sure the other ladies on the call could say the same thing. We've definitely, I think ICON really represents well the actual employee, right? So instead of feeling like a number, you feel like somebody's listening. So it's a really great feeling.
Great, thanks, Allison. Next up, we have Dan to talk about biometrics.
Thanks, Becky. I know we've just got a few minutes left here, so I'll run through this as quick as I can. But a lot of the other teams have spoken about the process of getting clinical trials set up and everything that we do to collect data around whether a drug is going to be something that's effective and safe for people to use. But biometrics is what is generally the teams that are going to be working with the data once we've collected it. So we have our global data operations team, which helps with collection of data from sites, making sure that it's cleaned and presented within all of the requirements for the regulatory bodies to be able to look at and assess. We have our statistics and programming teams, which do a lot of more mathematical work with determining what types of data we need to be collecting on these studies, as well as how we're going to do it, how we're going to focus around getting patients enrolled to meet the criteria that we need for the studies. And so they're focused around those areas. There's a lot of work with SAS programming and with different data standards in that group. And generally, for someone who's going to be working in statistics and programming, they're going to have a master's or a PhD in statistics or a master's of public health in epidemiology. Those are generally the types of educational backgrounds that go into those roles. We've got our biostatistical consulting team, which is one that is for high-level statisticians and programmers that really, they do next-level consulting with clients, usually smaller biotechs and mid-sized pharma companies. But a lot of the times the clients working with that we're working with in that area don't have a lot of built out statistics and programming staff. And so they rely on our consulting to help them really lay the groundwork for how they're going to collect and present the data that comes back from their studies, so that it'll be in a good spot when they, if and when things look good, to present that data to regulatory agencies. And then our biometrics delivery office is our group that is focused around kind of project work with project management for studies where we're only working on the biometrics aspect. A lot of the times we do have studies where we'll be doing everything from, working with the sites to set up the study all the way through presenting the data once the study is completed. But if we're only working with the data, a client only wants us to help in that aspect, then we have a lot of project management staff who work focused specifically on biometrics studies. So this just gives a little bit of a structure around our team, and some of the size that is in these teams as well. But they're definitely globally, located globally. Here in the U.S. and in Canada, we have members of all these different teams: data ops, stats and programming, the consulting team, and biometrics portfolio management. So if data is something that you're really interested in and you really like working with numbers and have a mathematical mind, then if that's the way that you're geared, then this is definitely the area of the company that would probably stick out to you most.
Thanks, Dan. Before we move on to another area that talks a little bit about data, because we are running so short on time, what we'll do is we'll have Danielle download the chat so that we can get those questions. We'll send responses back that she can then share out with everyone. That way we can make sure we do have the ability to respond to those as we can get through, because we only have a few minutes left. Want to be respectful of everybody's time. We are also going to be sending out information where you all can schedule one-on-one follow-ups with us on November 16th. So keep an eye out from either Danielle or a member of the BWICR on information on how to sign up for that, so you can get more of your questions answered. We have Lindsay up next to talk about Symphony.
Hi, everybody. Becky, thank you. My name is Lindsay, and I support the Symphony Health Business Unit of ICON. We're about a 340-person part of the company, and we focus solely on healthcare or patient journey analytics. So we are a part of the company, but we tend to take over in terms of our specialization when companies are interested in evaluating their drug commercialization efforts, their drug promotional efforts, and the performance of their drugs versus their competitors' drugs. Could you go to the next slide, Becky? Thank you. So this is Symphony in a snapshot. We actually can and do take data from electronic health records. Everything is anonymized, along with pharmaceutical or pharmacies, payer organizations, and many of the third-party apps that will allow us to bring data in on the same person, although we don't know it's that person. And we can see their entire journey, meaning from the time that they are diagnosed with something, what symptoms they presented with, what they were prescribed, why they were prescribed it, what their contract may have been with their managed care organization. We can also see, like everybody, like me, we wear Fitbits and we can track data there, and we can also see if someone participates in clinical trials and get real world current data. And I know we're about out of time.
If you all can make sure to stay on mute.
We can see the entire patient journey for anyone. And when we multiply that times the 317 million patients for whom we have data, we can start seeing patterns emerge. So we can use this to help companies look at which physicians they should target for new drugs for really rare diseases, how they should set up a sales team, perhaps which physicians or patient groups they should work with in terms of education about certain drugs. Becky, if you'd go to the next, because I know we're really out of time. When we have, in the next one, I'm sorry. We have many roles at our company, but out of the 340 employees, most would fall into data science and analytics. So similar to what Dan said, if you're interested in data and the power that really sits within data, we likely have a spot for you. And that could be something where it's data science driven, where you're doing the analysis. We look for folks with SAS, SQL, or R skills, or if you enjoy telling the story that data provides, we look for those types of people who enjoy data but enjoy talking to clients more in our consulting and analytical or analytics consulting roles. And of course, we also have the village that supports the consultants and the data scientists. That would be the salespeople, folks who are interested in learning how we can leverage data a little bit better and more effectively, so they fall into product development and product management, as well as our technology teams who build all the platforms that help us ingest the data, clean it, and align it with client needs. I'm available for questions and follow up. I'm going to pause. I don't think that does it justice, but I know we're out of time. So Becky, I'll pause and just let me know if anyone has questions.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Lindsay.
Sure.
We are out of time. We had a few more slides that we had hoped to share with you all, but as I mentioned, we are going to be doing follow-up sessions, one-on-ones that you'll be able to register for. So information on that will come out to those of you that registered and attended today. So be on the lookout for that. And as I mentioned, we will get a download of the questions that were put into the chat. So if you have any follow-up, go ahead and get those into the chat window so that we can make sure that we can respond to those throughout. But we really appreciate everybody joining us this afternoon. Thank you so much for learning more about ICON, and hopefully we presented you with some good information to help you as you continue your career in research.
Thank you so much, Icon. I am going to save the chats. I know some people are still putting their information in here. And for the speakers, if you could put your LinkedIn URL in the chat so that people can connect with you, that would be great.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Icon. We have someone still trying to join.
Maybe it's a time zone confusion. That happens.
My God, I'll let the man like it's over, but then I'll stop recording too.